Operation Evil contains adult-themed true crime content that is not intended for those under the age of 18. This podcast features themes of violence and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
They sat us down on the couch and they told us where they had found, or that they had found. And the first thing Steve said was, "Where was she?" And the police said, "Right across the street." That was such a nightmare. I thought we were somebody had to jump on my brother-in-law to keep him from going outside that house and going and doing something horrible. It just was, everybody was so angry.
Welcome to another episode of Operation Evil. I'm Nyoka.
I'm Rachel.
And we are bringing you another fantastic episode. And if you are part of our Patreon in, let's see, tier lunatic or tier stalker. I don't know why I say stalker. You'll be hearing a bonus episode on our Patreon by the time you hear this. Also, if you enjoy listening to us, please tell your friends. Please share us on Facebook.
Twitter,
yeah. Instagram, all the things. And Rachel, I know you wanted to say something as well.
I have a very special announcement to make.
What announcement? This sounds serious.
It is very serious.
What?
Gina, I love you and you're my number one.
Oh my God. What?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was the number one.
I have to make it up to her. I owe her.
Oh. Oh. All right. Fine. All right. So, I'm going to be giving this story you're about to hear, and then on the bonus episode, Rachel is going to be giving that one.
And I know a little bit about the story that Nyoka is going to talk about, but in case you're interested, it's my genuine surprise reaction.
Yes, we wanted to do it this way this week for something fun. Oh, one more announcement. We are finally going to bring you our drinking episode next week. It's happening. So it's not going to be a serious true crime episode, but more of we'll watch a movie and talk about our thoughts on it and have a good time episode.
It could be true life. Is this real life?
Is this real life? Yeah, exactly. Well, this story I'm about to tell you is about a little girl named Maddie Clifton.
And I think you should mention, too, how this story has stuck with you.
Yeah, so apparently there's been lots of episodes on this story. I didn't know that. I haven't seen any episodes on this story at all, but I did hear there are a couple podcasts I listened to, and both of them covered this. I'll just go and say I definitely recommend Morbid. I heard them do this story, and I also heard Sword and Scale do this story, and they were both done differently and fantastically. Is that a word? Fantastically, I think it is.
It's a word. You said it.
So it kind of stuck with me after I heard it, and I've been wanting to cover it, and I thought this week would be a good week to do it. Okay, this week's story is going to be about a little girl named Maddie Clifton. And on November 3rd, 1998, in Jacksonville, Florida, 8-year-old Maddie came home from school around 4:30 p.m. After practicing piano for at least an hour, she went outside to play while it was still daylight. Her mother, Sheila, prepared dinner as Maddie was playing in the neighbor's yard. Maddie's laughter could be heard from the inside of the house. First, she went to her 16-year-old neighbor's yard and then returned to her own yard. The neighbor's grandmother could see Maddie in the driveway and another teen approaching. She watched them for a few minutes, but saw nothing more than two kids playing together, so she went inside her house. Fast forward to 6:20 p.m., and Maddie's mother stepped outside and yelled for the children to come to dinner. Maddie's older sister came, but Maddie didn't appear. They were not together at the time, so the sister didn't know where she was. Miss Clifton asked some of the neighbors to look for her daughter, but no one could find her. At 6:33 p.m., Mrs. Clifton called 911.
It sounds like it's a close-knit neighborhood.
Yes, it sounds that way. Like everybody kind of played together.
Yeah, watch for each
The
other's
days
kids.
before social media and
Mm-hmm.
all the things took over. So Maddie, let's talk about her for a little bit. She was a third grader at San Jose Catholic School, and she was born in Lakewood, where her parents moved 15 years ago. She was described as a smiling, well-behaved, polite child who took piano and dance lessons, but was also tough as nails, with a passion for touch football and hockey.
Interested in a variety of things.
I love that. She has her, tomboy side and her musical side. After Maddie was reported missing, police began searching for her and interviewing the neighbors. The investigation concentrated on the 2 Street neighborhood because Maddie was seen and heard shortly before reported missing, so they figured there's no way she could be that far.
Yeah.
So that's why they kind of zoned in on that area. Several of the neighborhood children, they took part of the search to look for Maddie. Soon, hundreds of volunteers began to search for her. The first 7 days of her disappearance consisted of the police staking out the area and searching houses. Meanwhile, hundreds of volunteers were searching the woods, swamps, even dumpsters. They handed out flyers where $100,000 reward was offered. The National Guard even got involved and searched for leads by walking down nearby the city sewer systems.
This was taken very serious.
Yeah, it's amazing how much support the family had. I mean, that's so refreshing to hear. And the police, they just acted so quickly on this, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
The first, first 48 hours is
The most crucial.
or 24 hours. I can't remember which one, but yeah, it's very serious.
Yeah, because unfortunately, you hear a lot of times where it's too late.
Yeah, so sad. In a New York Times article about the case, it stated that Mr. Grissom, who was well known to the neighbors because he sometimes played games with the children, was questioned by police because he had a criminal record. He had been hitting golf balls with Maddie on the afternoon that she disappeared. Mr. Grissom, who was not a suspect, said Maddie had gone home to get more balls, and when she did not return, he just assumed that her parents had kept her home. And he was cleared.
It kind of sucks because it's like you don't really know what his criminal history was.
Yeah. So, what's surprising, though, is that the person that actually murdered Maddie was a neighbor. It was a 14-year-old neighbor boy named Joshua Phillips. Yeah. And the person to discover the truth was his mother, Melissa. So this is how it went.
Oh my gosh.
He's at school one day, and Melissa describes the horrific discovery on November 10th, 1998. So missing on the 3rd, found on the 10th. She says she'd been nagging him about his room because it was just in horrible condition. She had a garbage bag and was ready to start putting stuff in it that she knew was trash.
Which typical mom, kid stuff. Clean your room.
Yeah, and they don't do it, so what do? You're trying to do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
She saw a bottle at the corner of the bed, and she noticed that there was like some dampness, and he had a waterbed. So she's like, is the waterbed broken? And he just didn't want to like say anything and get in trouble. Or
Yeah.
what? I mean, waterbeds were the thing back then.
Yeah.
So she's like investigating like the bed in the corner of the bed and see, is it leaking? What's going on here? And she just pulled up the cover and touched some of the bed and felt something like, okay, they described it. She just kind of pulled up the cover, and I touched the pedals of the bed, and it just fell apart, and something hit my head, and I saw a sock. That was her words. But it wasn't Josh's sock. It was Maddie's foot.
So I guess she's leaning over the bed investigating.
Yeah, she's trying to find where this leak may be, if there is a leak, and discovers a little tiny foot with the sock. So,
brace yourself.
Yeah, and she just thought, what the heck is this sock doing here? Because as a parent, you're not thinking, there's a dead body tucked in my son's waterbed.
Yeah, that would be the least
Instead, you're
of
thinking,
your concern.
Yeah, instead you're thinking he's stuffing socks there, and the bed's leaking, and he's not telling anybody. So she went to grab this sock, and it wouldn't come out. So she got on her hands and knees on the floor, and that's when her eyes registered it, but her brain wasn't connecting quite yet. Choked up, she said, "Oh my God," I just remember thinking, "Oh God, oh God, oh God, this can't be." She tries to call her husband. Her husband's at work, and he didn't answer, and she's leaving a message, "Call me back, this is an emergency." And she's just hangs up, and she's holding on to that phone so tight, where you're wishing it to ring, just ring, 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 ring. And it wasn't. So she goes outside. She's upset. She's crying. What do you do? She was able to flag down a uniformed officer because they were still out in the neighborhood. They were still casing everything, looking through things. She didn't even have to call them. They were right there, stepped out "Hey, come here. I need you." In the midst of doing this, though, she looks across the street and sees the Clifton's house. And she was thinking, right now, they still have hope. And in a minute, they're not going to even have that anymore.
So they lived across the street.
Yeah. Can you imagine, they're hoping that they're going to find their little girl.
They have no idea.
That their world's going to change in just a moment. The officers and Mrs. Phillips went into Josh's room and opened the door. There they saw 2 small feet with white socks sticking out from the bottom of Joshua's waterbed, along with liquid coming from underneath the bed and tape on the floor. It started to have a strong odor that was coming from the room, which was immediately sealed as a crime scene at this point. When Josh's room was searched, the police found several types of air fresheners, rolls of tape, a baseball bat hidden behind a dresser, and a Leatherman knife tool, and a stolen photograph of Maddie's 11-year-old sister. Maddie's body was under the waterbed with her shirt pulled up and her panties beneath her. After finding the stolen photograph of Maddie's 11-year-old sister in Josh's room, the sheriff's office also began investigating earlier break-ins at the Clifton's house. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And this is where I'm going to insert a news clip for you.
Well, once again, Bruce Sheriff Glover just wrapping up this news conference. He announced here this afternoon that Joshua Phillips has been arrested for the murder of Maddie Clifton. He confessed, although the sheriff would not go into a whole lot of detail about that confession. The sheriff also talked about the just terribly gruesome discovery that was made early this morning around 7:30 when police walked into Joshua Phillips' home. Joshua's mother actually called a police who was on surveillance in the neighborhood to her home. She noticed some fluid leaking out from underneath her son's bed. That's when she grew very suspicious, brought the police officer there. At that point, they discovered Maddie's body actually almost in a fetal position, encased inside the wooden cabinetry part of that waterbed with the water mattress actually on top. of Maddie. Once again, based on preliminary medical reports, we're told that Maddie was stabbed a number of times. She received about 9 stab wounds to the body and 2 in the neck. Once again, Joshua Phillips was someone that Maddie knew very well. The two were described as playmates, and we're going to have more on this developing story a little later.
Joshua Phillips was at school when the discovery was made, and that's where the police arrested him. Everyone was completely shocked. After all, he had no violence, no history of violence. No one could believe he was even capable of murder. But he was. The Phillips met the son at the police station, where he had been brought from school for questioning. In the interrogation room, Steve Phillips told his son to tell the detectives the truth. With his father by his side, Josh talks about how Maddie came over to his house and wanted to play. He told her that he had chores, but she persisted, and Josh said he agreed, but told her that he was only going to play for a few moments because his father would be getting home soon and would be angry if Maddie were there. So Joshua confessed to killing Maddie, but claimed it started off as an accident. He stated that the two were playing baseball in his backyard when he hit the ball very hard and accidentally struck her near the left eye. She began to cry and scream, and he panicked, fearful that his father would be angry at him for playing with the younger girl. He took her into his room. Maddie was bleeding and crying loudly, and to keep his father from discovering her, he struck Maddie once or twice in the head. She whimpered, and then she began to moan more and loudly, and he took the knife and cut her throat. He then concealed her body by prying off the side of the waterbed and pushing Maddie underneath. Joshua's father had come home by this time, and realizing that Maddie's labored breathing was loud enough for his father to hear in another room, Josh pulled the child out and stabbed her in the lungs so that she would stop breathing.
Good grief.
Yeah.
So do we know, like, do they believe his story?
Well, yes. What's going on now? So, okay. She's crying. He wants her to stop breathing. He stabs her in the lungs. And he explained that her shorts and underwear came off when he dragged her into his room, and that her shoes came off when he shoved her underneath the bed the second time. All this happened because Joshua was afraid of getting in trouble. Now I'm going to explain. They found her without her shorts and panties on. So people didn't know if he did anything to her, but he's saying it was when he dragged her, it came off. Yeah. But I will say, before this happened, before she came over, he was on the computer when she came over originally and wanted to play, and he said he had chores.
Yeah.
He was watching very violent porn.
Yeah, it sounds like he has planned this for a while.
Or maybe because he watched this porn and then she just, I don't know.
Opportunity.
And then he claimed to be like that scared of his father that he had to kill her because that's going to solve the problem.
Yeah, because when you think like, well, if I do something that bad, I'm going to be even in more trouble.
I mean, you would think so. So the state's medical expert testified that Maddie had suffered 3 separate attacks. She was struck 3 times on her forehead and top of her head, receiving wounds that would have been fatal about 30 minutes after infliction. Her neck wounds perforated her windpipe, causing her to bleed to death or drown in her own blood. 9 stab wounds to her chest and abdomen were inflicted when she was already dead. However, Maddie's hand clutched a bracelet from the waterbed frame, which indicated that she was still alive when Joshua shoved her underneath. Looking back on the days before discovering Maddie's body, Joshua participated in the searches for Maddie. The day that Maddie was reported missing, witnesses described Joshua as acting normal, but looking as if he maybe just took a shower. The next day, a Jacksonville Sheriff's Office detective spoke with Joshua about Maddie, who stated that he had seen Maddie that day before, but he had not played with her. He went on to say that he was not supposed to play with her because of their age difference. Police searched the Phillips storage shed and car after Joshua's father arrived home, but they found nothing. A couple of days later, another homicide detective went into the Phillips home when only Joshua was present and interviewed Joshua as he sat on that bed that Maddie's body was stuffed in. Let's not forget that he also slept on that waterbed for 7 nights as her body was decomposing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, he was sitting on top of the body talking to the detective.
Well, isn't there something, there's like a terminology for when someone's already dead and then you continue to stab them after they're dead? There's something to that.
Yeah.
Like rage killing or something, I think is what it's called.
I don't know.
And that's just odd that he had, well, I don't know. Do you think it's odd his parents telling him, like, or him saying I'm not allowed to play with her because of the age difference? Do you think that's odd?
No, because I think from what I remember of the story, I don't think Maddie's parents and his parents were very fond of them playing together because of the age difference. But to Maddie, he was just a playmate.
Somebody, yeah.
Yeah. I just think that the fact that I don't know how even an adult would be able to sit on the bed where they hid a body in between and talk to a detective normally. I don't know how somebody can do that.
There's those select few.
And how can you sleep? How can you sleep? Have the lights off and sleep knowing there's a body underneath you.
I mean, to do what he did, he's not right.
It's just so disturbing.
And at that age.
Yeah. So Joshua Earl Patrick Phillips, at the age of 15, was charged with first-degree murder in the death of his 8-year-old neighbor and playmate, Maddie Clifton. Due to the severity of the crime, he was charged and tried as an adult.
So it was followed through then as an adult.
Yeah, which I'm glad it did because, that's definitely one of those cases where that should be.
For sure.
His trial was moved into a different county due to the flood of media coverage. Can you imagine how much media coverage there was?
Yeah, and I'm sure, the idea of having a fair trial.
Yeah, there's no way they could have had it there. He was convicted of first-degree murder, and on August 20th, 1999, he was sentenced to life in prison without a chance of parole. He was not eligible for the death penalty in Florida because he was under the age of 16 at the time of the crime. But here are some things that we found out, or what was said during the trial. Joshua did say that he was afraid of his father. He quoted, "He was very terrified of his father whenever two kinds of circumstances arose. Whenever he was afraid that he had done something wrong, or whenever his father was angry at anyone." This is his attorney talking. Bowery adds, "If I did something wrong," Joshua says, "he always had a kind of a short temper, and sometimes I never knew what he would do." So he had feared. His fear caused him to panic when he hit Maddie with the ball, or he claims that.
It sounds like he's blaming his father for his actions.
It does kind of sound that way. So, a neurologist hired by Joshua's attorney found that Josh has bilateral frontal lobe lesions, which can impair judgment as well as cause panic. The judge didn't allow this evidence to be presented in court. Josh's lawyer, Richard Nicholas, decided not to call any witnesses. Yeah. Which caused his trial to only last for 2 days.
I mean, it's like, what character witnesses would be about the only thing right that they could call?
I don't know, but he was faulted for this. Like, not calling anyone is kind of not good, is what it sounded like anyway, from my research. Because one, the trial was very short.
2 days.
2 days. And then the jury returned with only after 2 hours with a verdict of first-degree murder. The courtroom learned that Phillips had books on devil worshipping and witchcraft. They also learned that Phillips was obsessed with Jessie, who was Maddie's older sister.
The 16-year-old. Or the 11-year-old.
The 11-year-old. Who he stole a picture of, remember?
Yeah.
It was in his room.
Yeah.
Okay. She's afraid that if he gets out, he will come after her, said the assistant state attorney. According to prosecutor Harry Shorstein, in the half hour preceding the murder, Joshua was looking at violent pornographic websites on his home computer. He believes that this evidence, ruled inadmissible and not presented at the trial, points to an explanation. He believes that the photos Josh looked at could have triggered his violence, especially if Josh really didn't have, if he really did have brain lesions impairing his judgment. The Cliftons agree. Sheila's mom quoted saying, "I believe he had not had access to this material, that Maddie would be sitting right here now." But we'll never know. Steve Phillips places some of the responsibility for Maddie's murder on the victim herself.
What the hell?
This is the father. Yeah. I put WTF right next to it.
A big WTF.
Oh, yes. If she hadn't come over, he says, none of this would have happened.
What an asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, now I can kind of see why his kid would be scared of him.
Can you believe that he would say something like that?
Flat out victim blaming.
Yeah. Despite the material on his computer and Maddie's missing clothing, no sexual motive was ever established. In the aftermath of the crime, the Cliftons mourned for their daughter. In a different way, the Phillips mourned for their son. Since the trial, Maddie's parents have divorced, and Josh's father has died in a car accident. Josh, on the other hand, has been in the appeal process. In 2002, an appeals court upheld his original conviction. In late 2004, his mother, Melissa, began seeking a new trial. She believed that at his age, at the time of the murder, should be taken into account in regards to his sentence. In the meantime, two of the officials who were involved in his sentencing has said that they are having second thoughts.
Oh man, that's a debate right there alone.
Yeah. In 2005, new hearing dates were set for Josh Phillips. Their goal is to at least have the charges reduced to second-degree murder so that Josh might one day be eligible for parole. The U.S. Supreme Court made a ruling in 2012 that sentencing juveniles to a mandatory sentence of life in prison without parole is unconstitutional. In his new trial in 2017, Joshua writes and reads an apology letter to Maddie's family. Here is just a small clip of his apology.
I did something horrible. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what happened. Even now, After all these years, it is just unfathomable that all this could have occurred. It tears my mind asunder to know that I stole such a precious life from you, from the world. I so wish I could take away your pain. I thank God that I've been able to continue on in life and grow. But not a day goes by that I don't think of what led me to where I'm at. Not in prison, but in life. I pray every day that you're able to live your lives in spite of the injury I've caused you.
However, in his new sentencing in 2017, a judge upheld Josh's life sentence.
Good.
Yep. His 2020 appeal was also denied. Now in his 30s, Joshua Phillips is still in prison serving his life sentence today. Melissa Phillips, Josh's mother, tried to withdraw from society as best as she could, while Jessie Clifton, Maddie's sister, found that she had a new identity that everyone refused to look past. She was the sister of the murdered girl.
Oh.
That's horrible.
See, that's why he should just stay in prison forever.
Yeah, he affected
One of the reasons.
so many lives. So many.
I bet you that, like, if they did let him out, he would do it again.
Probably with time and the right anger, maybe the right moment. It's possible. Every month or so, his mother makes a 4-hour drive to visit Joshua in prison, refusing to accept that he will die behind bars.
At least she gets to visit her son.
Yeah. That's a good point. She said, "We talk in terms of when he gets out, not if. I have to keep some semblance of hope for the both of us." Lastly, when asked years later how he could go on with his life with her body hidden in his bedroom, he said that even though he made no conscious decision to, he just ignored it. He was in denial and he didn't believe in the reality of it, so he lived in a fantasy world like nothing had happened. When asked why this happened, Josh says he doesn't really know, even to this day. Phillips has stated that if he could take it all back, that he would.
I'm sure he would, so he wouldn't have to be in prison.
Yeah. And that is the story of Maddie Clifton. That poor, poor child. Her death was horrible.
Very horrible.
Struck with baseball bat.
And then stabbed.
Yep.
And he more or less, like, kind of imprisoned her in a way.
Yeah.
That seems like that would be the equivalent of being put in a box or something.
Yeah, it does. And there will be pictures on our Patreon as well as our Facebook and other social media. There's like a diagram of where, like, how the bed frame would be and where she was. She was like in a fetal position, like off to the corner of the waterbed. So I will be posting that just so you can have an idea.
Is there pictures of her to see what she looks like?
Yes, so there will be a picture of Maddie, and there will also be a picture of Josh, I think, in his later years. I did save a few pictures, but all of that will be posted by the time you hear this. So you should definitely go check it out. I know this story was a bummer.
Yeah, no wonder this stuck with you.
It really did stick with me. Like, I just could not forget it. And I was like, wow, the fact that somebody can do this and somebody that was 14 years old could do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just heartbreaking.
And then the father blaming her, and then the mother.
Oh,
in
I
complete
was
denial.
so angry when I read that part. How dare you even think that?
Yeah.
Oh, it made me so angry. But anyway,
It's absurd.
it is. Well, thank you guys for listening to another episode of Operation Evil. We are getting very close to having 20 episodes. I think after today we will, if you include the bonus one.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting. So if you guys are on our Patreon, you can go there and listen to our bonus episode that Rachel's going to give us. If you want to listen, sign up. Be part of the community. And we're going to be sending out goodies to those in Tier 2 and 3 very soon. I've got the rest of my little special goodies coming in.
There's some good goodies, too.
Yeah, so that is a coming.
I just realized I said goodies.
I said goodies,
I'm not
too.
a fan of the word goodies.
I think of candy when I think of goodies.
Also, too, like when you donate some money, it helps us, but it goes right back into the podcast. So, like,
Yes, it does.
it helps us research a little bit better and expand our horizons.
Yes, we have. Oh, yeah. I mean, we are pouring everything sweat, money, tears, blood. No, there's no blood, but still. We love you guys for listening. Thanks again. And hop over to Patreon so you can hear the next one.
And if there's anywhere that you can comment, again, don't be mean. Take that crap somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I think Nyoka did a fantastic job of telling us the story.
Thanks.
I
I feel
loved
like I hope I gave it a little justice.
You know what? I think you did, because it, personally for me, I felt the emotions.
Good.
From sadness to anger. So hopefully everybody out there, they felt the same way.
I hope so, because that's how I felt when I heard it. And if you did like this story, and that's it. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.